Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's been a while. I've been working on a few projects amongst other things for control stuff, which I might go into at another time. But for now, and I'll leave some links for now. For now, just point out that if you see me using controls, not using the mouse, then that's because I'm using a Stream Deck for some buttons, and I'm also using a Arduino with a touchscreen and a rotary encoder, which is kind of like similar to the class Echo, which I'll leave a link to do things that involve turning knobs, basically. But anyway, ignoring all that, we are in the Mooney and we're at Sumburgh, and it is great to have the Mooney back. The Carnado Mooney was broken for quite a while after Sim Update 5, I think it was, and the fuel tank selector didn't work and the speed brakes didn't work, and you've just reminded me that I haven't changed my controls over. Let me just so I've also been flying the H135 helicopter and having great fun with that, and I'd always said I'd never use helicopters, but I've changed my mind anyway, so I just need to go and put some of these controls back to the defaults. Oh, and I've got a TQ6 throttle quadrant instead of the old Cytec quadrant that I had, and that's also fantastic. No, I can't remember which profile I need. Probably that one. So yeah, we'll definitely do some control checks. So it's just the plan today is just a nice, short, simple flight from Sumburgh to Fair Isle. So I guess we could look at the flight planning. So we are here on the ground in Sumburgh, and obviously if we take off, we're in the Sumburgh control zone. But assuming there's ATC at Sumburgh, then they just clear us. And then it's just a direct flight to Fair Isle, and I'm going to try and hopefully I've changed the weather. The real world weather was when I loaded up was rain, so I thought, well, that's not going to be any good. It kind of needs to be visual, so I just put it to a few clouds. So hopefully we'll go to about 3,000 feet, or maybe 4. Yeah, let's go 4. So we should be able to see the island fairly quickly after departure, but we'll also try and do an NDB bearing as well. So if we do measure distance from NDB Sumburgh, we can get to Fair Isle. We can get distance and bearing from that. So basically 207 degrees is the heading we're looking for, with the NDB needle behind us. Straight behind us. So okay, so that's going to be the plan for nav. Let's jump into the cockpit. Now then, I've mentioned controls. Let's just check that. And before we do anything else, let's get the GTN 750 up. And we're not really going to use GPS nav, but I will use the OBS function on the 750 so that when we come into land, we've got a nice reference line for the runway direction. And that's not how we get rid of that. Okay, let's just check controls work. So throttle, yeah, that seems to be working. Propeller and a mixture, great. So those are all looking good. Speed brakes, I have bound the speed brakes to a spare button on my joystick, so I can click that, and that's basically bound as a toggle for the speed brakes, and that works nicely. Mooney is very slippery aerodynamically, so if you want to descend, and if you want to descend without drastically reducing your engine power, so if you want to like slowly cool the engine, sometimes the speed brakes come in handy. You can drop the gear on this one at 140 or below, but flaps is pretty much here at the beginning of the white line. Okay, so let's get started. So we will turn on the battery, and we will also turn on the beacon light, and we will get our levers in the correct position. So we'll leave them all full forward and operate the boost pump. And then we'll crack the throttle open a little bit, and then we'll go ignition. Oh, parking brake, let's just check. Parking brake is selected. Yeah, parking brake is selected, and let's go for a start. And then after start, we'll just let the engine settle. Maybe bring it back near 1000 RPM. Turn off the boost pump because it makes a racket, and it doesn't need to be on at the moment. And we can lean the mixture till we just see the RPM start to drop. Okay. Let's get our avionics alternator and avionics turned on. The GTN 750 is probably going to complain that it's out of date. Probably do that in a minute because they seem to keep releasing new versions, and I'm always behind. We will just stick a flight plan in, but purely just so that the OBS function works, and I'll just explain that in a minute. So let's go and do the flight plan. So EGPB, and we're going to go into EGEF to get a Fairwell jumper ready for winter, especially since we're not going to be able to use gas anymore. So we're going to need all the jumpers we can get. So that'll do. We can cheat and follow the route on the map, but okay, we've got to zoom out a long way to see Fairwell. It's not actually that far. Okay, so but instead, all I'm really going to use this for is the OBS function. Now, if we go back to little nav map for a second, and we zoom in on Fairwell, there. So first of all, it's quite a short runway, and the Mooney doesn't slow down very well after landing. The brakes aren't great, so you will really need to nail the speed over the threshold here, because otherwise we will not stop in time. And also the runway's on a slope one way. I forget, I think it's sloping 0.9 down. As I'm on the kind of like nice weather, I don't think there's much wind, so we can choose to land from either direction. So my plan is that we will arrive at the island at about 2,000 feet, and we'll just kind of go round it. So effectively we'll come in here, we'll turn in here as if we were doing a sort of overhead join, and we'll do like a circuit, a right hand circuit for runway 24. So come in here at 2,000, have a little bit look at the coast. We'll do a nice wide one. We'll start to descend to about 1,300 feet, do a circuit, avoiding the hill, and come in for a landing on runway 24. So if we go back to this, if we go to OBS mode and on here, and then we can set, we should be able to set our OBS bearing. There we go, 341. You're not really seeing it here because we're not zoomed in. There we go, so you zoom out just to show you this. So if we should be able to set our OBS bearing to 24 basically. And again, I'm using like the rotary encoder on the Arduino box that I've got for this, rather than having to scroll the mouse on these things, which I really find difficult. So 24. So essentially, what that's given us now is that's the vector we want for our landing. So that'll become really helpful when we're in the circuit to keep us lined up. So with that done, let's get everything else sorted out. So let's get our altimeter set. Let's just cheat and shift B for the altimeter. I guess we're at standard pressure, so that's already done. We want to tune the NDB, which is down here. So I'm going to do that again on the Arduino. So I'm going to go. What would help if I knew what the frequency was? I'll just check on little nav map to see what the Sumburgh NDB is, and it's 351. 351. So we'll enter that as the secondary here, and then we will swap them over, and this should come alive, which it does. Great. Okay, so what we're looking to do is go on a heading of what's the heading on the little nav map was 207 degrees. So what we'll do is after departure we'll set our heading bug to 207, and then we'll look to have the NEB pointing straight behind us on that heading, and we'll adjust our course until that happens. Altitude wise we're not going to use the autopilot, but let's just set as a reference, let's set 4,000 feet. On that. Takeoff, well let's see if we get some, should we get some ATIS and just see what the runway in use is. So we go COM2 and it's 125855 for the ATIS here. So set that on COM2, swap the frequencies over and set COM2 active.
Sumburgh Airport information, Yankee 1600 Zulu. Wind 274 at 7. Visibility 7. Sky condition, few clouds at 1,000 feet. Temperature 15. Dew point 13. QNH 29.902. ILS runway 27 in use.
Okay, runway 27. So it would actually help here if we zoomed in and used the map on here. Now we're actually parked, normally commercial aircraft park here, but we're parked over here where kind of like the air ambulances normally come in. This is runway 27 down here, so if we come out, make a left, and then we can take off from this intersection. Okay, so we'll set heading bug to 27 for now, and then we'll, after departure, we'll make a left turn onto 207 degrees. So let's go for 27 for now on the heading. Well, I think that's nearly it. So fuel, well we'll move the, so fuel, currently we're on the left tank. Let's just check that we can go to the right tank and that it works, and then we'll take up on the right tank. So I'm going to turn the boost pump on, and then I'm going to switch to the right tank. Yeah, we're fine. Okay, still running. So we'll take off on the right tank. Probably we hardly even need to switch tanks, so this flight's quite short. I think we're ready to taxi. Pitot heat we'll put on when we get to lining up on the runway. What else do we need to do? Lights, transponder. Transponder we're currently on standby. Yeah, we'll do that when we get to lining up as well. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So let's get, the other thing I always forget is let's get the clock ready for timing. We'll put the taxi light on, and we will turn round. Actually, let's get some head tracking going as well, actually. Okay, looks like we probably want to make a right turn here. So, parking brake released. Taxi light is on. Good to go. And Mooney turns really nicely. The ground handling's quite good. There's the control tower there. And if you look at Shetland webcams online, you can see webcam views from the control tower that show the two main runways, and you get a live feed, which is quite nice. Now then, as we are technically going to be on a runway here, I'm going to stop here and do the run-up checks. Although this is not the runway we're taking off on, it's the runway that we will taxi down. So let's just stop here. I mean, we're kind of effectively facing almost... I mean, we're not facing 27, but never mind. We'll do the run-up checks here. So we want mixture full rich. Let's come up to 2000 RPM. And let's get magnetors checked first. So left left magneto. We're going to drop to about 1990 to both. And right magneto. Again, about the same drop. And we'll just cycle the prop a little bit. It's quite, the prop lever is really sensitive for some reason, as you'll see. You hardly move it at all. Give a big change in RPM. We don't want to over stress, over torque the engine at this point, so we'll just do it a little bit. That's fine. Okay, we'll leave the mixture full rich now as we're going to be departing. As we're going to go onto the runway now, let's get strobe landing lights on, and we'll put a nav light on. We'll take the taxi light off. Pitos I'm going to turn on now as well. Okay, and transponder is going to alt. And there's no one on this runway, so we're okay. Flaps, we should have one notch of flaps on for takeoff. Let's just do that. Yeah, the flap indicator is here. Trim is fine, it's in the takeoff position. Beaters are on. Mix is rich, props forward, we're good to go basically. So I'm going to take off. I think we've got plenty of runway from here. So let's verify the heading, and of course this is runway 09. I always do this. So in fact I'm going to go to the end of the runway. Well, not the full end of the runway, we'll go down it a bit and we'll turn round. My sense of direction is terrible. It's because the map on this thing is north up. Why is it that? I thought like, I think I'm confusing this with the King Air that can only be north up. This isn't north up, right? This is actually, no, this is not north up. Okay, I think this taxi intersection point here is plenty. So in fact we're nearly at the end of the runway, so let's just backtrack here, let's turn round. Okay, so now facing the right direction, we're ready to go, and it'll be a left turn after takeoff. And we have plenty of runway. Our airspeed is coming alive, engine gauges look okay. Just easing back on forward pressure now. Let's go, and we'll rotate about 70. Let's go, rotate. Gear up, and let's get a little bit higher, and then we'll take the flaps up. I'm going to bring the flaps up. I'm going to climb out about 90, so let's just trim up a bit. In fact, I'm just going to bring the power back to about 2500. Sorry, 25 inches. And I'm now going to start a left turn. And in fact there is Farewell. So I don't think we're going to have too much difficulty navigating to it. But anyway, let's get our heading sorted out here. So we said we were going to fly 207 degrees, so let's get the heading back on 207 then. Okay, so we're now heading 207, but the NDB needle is not straight, so we're not on the 207 radial effectively from the NDB, if you see what I mean. So to do that, we need to turn a bit in one direction. Now the rule with the NDB is it's push the head and pull the tail. I always get this wrong. If we're pulling the tail, I think we're actually on the correct side of... Yeah, I think actually if we just stay on this heading, it will come in. Does that make any sense? Because effectively the tail is here and we are here, so we're kind of pulling it in. Well, I'm going to just sit here for a minute and see what happens. I think we're just going to, let's just go to 3,000 feet. I know that doesn't really fit in with the odds and evens. Well, let's go 3,500, because I mean, isn't very far. It's hardly worth going to 4,000. Yeah, and that NDB is coming in. If we wanted to bring it in more quickly, we could steer left. I think. Or am I just now going to prove that I got this completely wrong? Okay, we're nearly at 3,500 feet, so now you're going to bring the nose down. Let's level off here, let's bring the power back to 23, the RPM back to 23. It's very sensitive, like I say, so I always tend to overdo that. Let's just trim here. And the Mooney is a reasonably quick machine as well. This should give us something like 150 knots or something once we've settled down. Yeah, we are coming in on the course, as you can see. So when the NDB is directly behind us, we can then turn on to 207 and we should be okay, assuming there's no wind drift. And the next altitude we're going to want is 2,000 feet. So I'm just going to set that now as a reminder. So ground speed now is 160. So we're doing pretty well here. In fact, we don't need to be going this fast. So I'm going to bring the power back to 21, although it isn't going to slow this thing down much, as you'll see, as it's quite slippery. We should lean a bit as well. The best thing I find for leaning is just this EGT gauge here, because this thing seems to be a little bit all over the place. I'm going to lean until we peak, and then just come lean of peak. On our the course now. Although actually, yes, we've passed the course, because yes, this doesn't rotate, and so yeah, there we go. Anyway, we can see the island. I'm not used to these NDB dials that don't have the heading on them as well. You have to manually set the heading on this one, so I should have set the heading to, yeah, anyway. let's just do it visually now. In fact, I think we almost want to start descending. So to avoid overcooling the engine, let's just bring it back, let's say about 18 inches. And you'll find that we probably don't descend very quickly at this, and we won't lose any speed. So at some point we might need the speed brakes, but we shouldn't do. This is sort of late afternoon, so the sun's going to be pretty low actually, so this is going to make it potentially quite difficult lining up with the runway. Let's just zoom out a bit on the GTN 750 so we get an idea of our runway centre line with the OBS. There we go. Just going to bring the power back a bit more now. It's about 15. And I'm not going to descend too quickly, so let's just keep it about 500, 400 feet per minute. And that should lose us some speed as well. And below 140, don't forget, we can actually extend the gear. But as you can see, you know, we're maintaining what, 140 ground speed here with not much power in. It's kind of just judging now what rate of descent we need by sort of looking at where the island is. And as we get nearer, we can zoom in a bit more on the GTN and also help give us some situational awareness. But we are at a speed now where we could drop the gear, which we will do, I think, once we get closer to the island and maybe into the pattern. So I think that's the runway there, right? Yeah. That's it. Doesn't quite seem to line up with the OBS, but never mind. How are we doing for altitude? We're coming down to 2,000 now, which I said we'd kind of... So I think we'll maybe level off here. And then we'll start to descend again. Or well, at least slower rate of descent. So we actually, I mean, we could do a straight in landing from here, but because this is the right direction. So let's also set our heading selector to the runway heading that we're going to land on, which is 24. So heading mode 240. There we go. Which lines up nicely with, so 240 on the heading, 240 on the OBS. So we'll keep coming down here maybe to, I might as well just come down to traffic pattern altitude now. We can see the runway. Let's come down to 1,300 feet. And we'll kind of do a circuit round the island for a right base, a right hand circuit. And we'll have a bit of a look at the runway if we can as well, just to make sure it looks clear, although it's very difficult to see in the sunlight. We're doing okay on our descent here. Well, I say we will level off at pattern altitude height. I'm not sure are there wind turbines on Fair Are? There may be. I mean, right there, they've got generators or something to get power, because I don't think there's any power connected to the mainland. I may be wrong. There we go. So we can see the runway. Going to level off now. Speed should drop off at this because we're only at 15 inches, so we just bring, I mean, the prop RPM is now maximum anyway. Let's just make sure we don't sink any lower. There's a reasonable view of the runway, it looks good, so I think we'll start gently circumnavigating the island to line up. Just watch our altitude because we have. Just going to trim up a bit here. The scenery on the Ferrol is a lot better than it used to be. I forget which world update it was it 3 or 4 that did UK, but that fixed it. I mean, before that there were holes in it and all sorts of things, and it was pretty barren. So it's actually looking really nice now. I think we'll bring the mixture rich now, at least nearly full rich. As in terms of fuel, I think we'll swap tanks. Let's go left tank. Let's go boost pump and left tank. Boost pump off. And there's the runway. The approach from this side, you've got quite a tight turn to avoid the cliff, the rising cliffs there. Just dropping a bit down. In fact, we can see Shetland, the main part of Shetland there where we came from, straight ahead. So it's actually pretty good weather. Okay. Now then, we need to start thinking about, we're effectively on a downwind, right downwind now. So at the end of this, we want to be getting gear and flaps out. As I say, we really want to nail the speed here. Again, now we can, let's just zoom in a bit on the old OBS line to give us an idea where we are. Helps us stay lined up on our downwind. And our speed's pretty good now, actually. So the Mooney, as long as you give it enough time to slow down, it's absolutely fine. There we go, so that's our downwind now. And again, we can use the OBS line there as a guide, so if it was windy we could correct, which is a bit cheating, I know, but we don't want too big a circuit here. I'd say we're probably about good now to go, so I'm going to go for the gear and I'm going to go for one notch of flaps. Not sure what that caution's for. It's gone off. I think it may have been just enough power in or something. We don't want to descend at more than about 500 feet per minute here, but we do want to be descending, so let's not overdo it. So we really want to get the speed down to about 75 for the landing, as the runway's quite short. I'm going to go the second notch of flaps, and I'm going to start to turn the final here. We've still got a fair bit of speed on, but we've got one more notch of flaps to go. I'm going to go final flaps now. And we've overshot the runway completely. I'm going to bring the power back to about 13 inches. So that would completely overshot the turn. It is, my defence, it's quite hard to see. We also seem quite low as well. So let's get the speed. Yeah, we seem to be coming in very shallow. Could be just the way that the ground's rising. Let's get that speed down to about 75. We want to be nailing the end of the runway, really. We do have the gear down. Let's turn the boost pump on for landing. And our landing lights we didn't actually turn off, so they're still on. Speed's a bit high still, so let's just bring the power back. See if we can get lined up. Still a bit fast. That noise you can hear is the boost pump. And we are coming in a bit shallow here, but let's bring the power back now. Just hold it off if we can. Let it settle. And we're down, not particularly well controlled. I'm sure this runway surface used to be more paved. Okay, boost pump off. Pitot heat can come off. Sorry, I'm turning my head to look at the stream deck. It doesn't work too well for head tracking. Yeah, maybe this is a gravelly runway. I think it actually probably is. Let's get the flaps up. And we can turn our transponder now back to standby. I think we'll park kind of just in front of this rather modern looking building here. And we should have had the taxi light on actually. Let's turn the lights off. Strobe and landing lights can come off. Brake can come on. Nav lights off, taxi lights off, so we've just got the beacon light left on now. Let's have a quick look outside. Here we are. Sun's beginning to go down now, so I think we got here just in time for a night on the island. And go and do some fair old jumper shopping in the morning. Let's just get everything shut down now. So I think what I'll do is I'll turn off avionics as we don't need them anymore. Mixture can come off. And we can turn off. What else have we got on? The beacon can come off, alternator, battery can come off, and let's not forget to turn the key off. And I think that's us. We'll just leave all the levers in. So yeah, that was it. So just a short flight to Fair Isle. Not particularly great landing. We overshot the turn, and I don't know, our approach seemed too shallow. Let's just have a quick look on little nav map at our track. You see where we went. I didn't do the nav very well, as you can see, because I forgot that the heading thing wasn't aligned with our current heading. The ADF wasn't aligned, so we've actually overshot the course we were meant to be on. This is our arrival at the island, and yeah, this is the overshoot on the base. It's probably because this. I mean, what's this? I suppose that is the kind of correct. That is the correct downwind. It was just this turn we were probably too near. Could probably done with being a bit further out. Anyway, we landed. Yes, that's it. So hopefully I'll get onto some more things to say about some of our new control options I'm using, but for now I hope you enjoyed the flight and see you next time. Bye for now.